I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews, we have back with us Markus Levin, co-founder of XYO, here to talk about DPIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks, and much more in blockchain. Markus, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again, Ashton. It's very, very cool to be on the show with you again.
Yeah, I've been following XYO for 7 years now, and I think people have only really heard of DPIN in the last couple of years. Your team was way ahead of the curve in understanding where the world was going to be going, and then we can talk about how blockchain and AI fits into all of this as well. I would love to start out with sort of a high level on what you and your team have built at XYO, how it relates to the broader DPIN ecosystem, and then we can dive into all the latest details.
Yeah, yeah. As you might recall, in like 2018, when we were first on the show, like thanks for supporting us, for the last 7 years. Actually, pretty insane, Anyone who saw the videos back then from Ashton had suits on, and it was different Ashton. Now it's like very evolved, I think, and it's exciting to be here again, and XYO we have evolved over the last 7 years a little bit. We started out with proof of location. We said location gets easily spoofed or hacked, right? So we need to do something against it as more and more location becomes more relevant. And we then created a network of IoT devices where those devices do cryptographic handshakes and prove each other's proximity. And this way you get certainty around location, and then you get a relational map and so on. And you can use that for smart cities and self-driving cars and automated supply chains, but also for GameFi or bringing games from the virtual world into the real world, like a digital experience, and many things. And then over time, we realized that's where the evolution comes in. We realized that we are good at really collecting other data as well, and so we started to collect sensor data, like temperature sensor data, for example, but also offline data, like point of interest data, let's say a restaurant or cloud photography, and you name it, really, anything which was needed. And then we validated and verified the data, and then connected it with smart contracts or gave it to Web2 companies. And also then we had, in 2018, we only had IoT devices. You might recall we had these Bluetooth beacons and some GPS things. And today we still have IoT devices, but most of our nodes, DePIN nodes, are mobile-based. We launched an app, it's called Coin. You can download it on coinapp.co, which allows you to just become part of the XYO network. And the basic function in there is geomining in the app, which is basically validating location data, but then there's many other things you can do in the app, like collecting point of interest data, for example. And this way you can earn points, which you can exchange for XYO. And today, we have more than 10 million nodes in our DePIN network, which makes us, one of not the largest DePIN network out there.
Wow, it's come a long way, and 10 million nodes is amazing to see. I feel like we're so early in DePIN. It sounds like a great number, but I'm thinking that should eventually get to hundreds of millions or billions. Everyone has a device.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like DePIN is growing like crazy. As you said, nobody talked about DePIN. A few years ago. That in 22, I think Messari coined the term DePIN, and since then it goes bananas. And just in the beginning of June, there was a report from the World Economic Forum, which mentioned this about 1,500 DePIN project. It's a $50 billion market, and the World Economic Forum forecast is going to be a $3.5 trillion market in 2028. It's in 3 years. This is just absolutely insane numbers, and if you think about that, and so we are just right there. We are the first DePIN launching in 2018, and we built a very sustainable business model and project, and have an amazing token, and so It's just we are positioned pretty well to take opportunity of this trajectory.
Yeah, that's really exciting. 3.5 trillion from 50 billion. That's like almost the size of the market cap of all of crypto. It will probably surpass crypto if everybody has a device and they're contributing to the networks. And that's like in such a short span of time. I feel like there's some viral applications, and I feel like the barriers to entry are on the technical side are much lower.
Mhm.
If there's already 10 million nodes and you just need to download an app, I feel like people, if they've never get involved in DPIN, maybe they have a harder time understanding exactly what it is. But once you get the app, start contributing, whether it's location data, weather, noise, things like that from your device, and you're earning from it. Once you start earning, I feel like they get it.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It was an evolution for us to understand that. In the beginning, our IoT devices were a little complicated. It was
Mm-hmm.
targeted to crypto nerds like you and me, and then in 2018, only 2% of the US population touched even crypto before,
Mm-hmm.
and today it's 25%. So it's a lot, a quarter, but it's an addressable market has grown, but to concentrate only on the crypto community for DePIN is
Mm-hmm.
just not good enough. And so we realized that at some point we said, we need to grow, but it's extremely hard to do this within the confines of the crypto community. And that's why we launched that up to make it like super easy. And we tweaked it over the years, and today, more than 80% of the users who come newly into the Coin app are non-crypto users, while 95% of them redeem their points for XYO, but they also can
Mm-hmm.
redeem their points for like AirPods and Nintendo Switches and sweepstakes entries and stuff like that. And but they choose crypto, and so we onboarded millions into the crypto sphere. And the way you do that also is you don't need to have a wallet. You can have a wallet and send your XYO to that wallet, but you can also just open a Coinbase account and send your XYO to your Coinbase email address. So if you are not a crypto person, you don't want to deal with
Mm-hmm.
custody and self-custody and things like that, then yeah, we make it very, very, very easy for you. And I think that's key for adoption for DePIN and crypto as a whole is that we allow for really, really amazing and easy user experiences where, when my grandma can also, be a part of this.
Definitely. I'd love to see my grandma contributing to the top DPIN networks. And it will likely happen, before she fully understands Bitcoin. Because so, and you mentioned gaming earlier on and the applications that location data can use for gaming. And I feel like the Coin app itself contributing and then rewarding, it almost is like a game in a sense. Can you talk about the broader gaming ecosystem and how
Mhm.
DPIN fits into that?
Yeah, yeah, we have a really amazing partnership with metaverse game called Upland. It's
Yep.
basically a monopoly in the monopoly metaverse, which has properties from the real world in the metaverse, and you can buy them and trade them and have some gameplay on top of them. And so you're planning to bring that gameplay to the real world with them. So when you go to a certain address or you go to a certain, I don't know, to the Eiffel Tower, for example, you get the right to
Mm-hmm.
by the Eiffel Tower maybe
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that and that changes your gameplay inside the game. You can earn special NFTs and so on, and then can have real world treasure hunts, but you have the benefits inside your game, for example. And the same way, we are talking with companies in the connected clothing space, where you, for example, have a chip in a collar, right? And we can prove that 10 joggers are together there, right? They jog together. And because they did it together and so on, they get something at the end, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they earn some NFTs, for example, or something on the leaderboard, some points and whatever. And that's this is a huge market, I think, because you can do fan engagement, for example, and so on. But then you can do RWA, so connected tokenized real-world assets. You can also interact with, and for those interactions, you can first prove that you were in proximity of something, and that might give you something.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The possibilities are like endless once you start adding in fan engagement and location data. And I've played some games in the past on my phone where you actually had to be at the location. It's like Pokemon Go, these kinds of things. And I know it was possible to spoof the location, and you can just use like these GPS spoofer apps. They're right in the App Store, and you can be like, let's just go to Paris and fight the monsters there. I feel like there is a market for ensuring, like using blockchain and decentralized networks to ensure that the location you're in is the location you're in when there's money on the line.
You're absolutely right. First, I had 3 calls with Niantic, with the maker of Pokemon Go in 2018 and 2019. And they were not quite convinced that we can solve their problems, and I wish they would have. And we also had calls with Yelp, for example, because Yelp had a problem with fake reviews, and we said, "Oh, we can make location verified reviews, so you can prove that someone is really at the restaurant, that they're there for 2 hours and not for 8 hours, or have never been there, and stuff like that, and." I think it's going to be very, very, very valuable in the future to prove these things, And then if you think what I mentioned, like tokenized real assets, they're going to be even bigger than DPIN, or the DPIN is a subset often of tokenized real assets, but Standard Chartered says that market is going to be a $30 trillion market by 2034, and so everything is going to be tokenized, like your bicycle and your apartment rental and everything is tokenized, right? Or your solar system in the desert somewhere in I don't know, in Ethiopia, for example. And you can participate and own some of these assets, but you also need to prove that those assets really exist, right? So you need to collect that data somewhere, and then once that asset exists, you need to bring it on chain, and you need to and like proof where it is, but also if it's moving and stuff like that. And you can do that with DPIN, and you can do that with XYO, for example. And I think that's going to be even bigger than games over the years.
Yeah, I feel like something that's going to be really huge is autonomous cars, self-driving cars, and the fact that you have to prove their location, and also they're going to have a wallet to transact. We've seen the announcements this month with the Tesla cybercabs and the robo-taxis. People are starting to drive around in US. And I feel like that's going to change the game because there are a few self-driving cars. They're not connected up to decentralized networks yet, but they're not that abundant. But with this Tesla software upgrade, I feel like everybody who owns a Tesla will now be able to make their car into a node and let it drive itself. What do you think about the autonomous driving and how that could fit into DPIN?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely amazing because in the end, like you use your car. The average American uses a car 3% of the time. It's a huge waste of resources, while it's usually the second most expensive purchase we make after our house. So imagine you can use your car 90% of the time, and in a node network where your self-driving car drives around itself, right? It goes and charges itself somewhere, and then you still use it for the 3%. You usually use it, and suddenly you have an asset which earns your return. Versus right now, if you buy a car, you drive off the lot, it loses half its value basically, and that's really amazing. I think that DePIN allows it that we have assets which are underutilized, be it our computer and the storage there, or the compute power, or maybe our solar. We create extra energy. That DePIN allows you to basically sell that extra capacity, and you earn a return of your assets. And either they become cheaper for you, or you earn that return. And I think that's amazing, and that's going to be a big part of that transformation to this new DPIN RWA world where basically we shift to a world like that. And then on the location part specifically, I think it's important, cars can be hacked. And, if you have an autonomous car, it can be pretty dangerous. And so you want to make sure that you have a high degree of certainty that the location of the car is correct. Especially if you think about something like self-driving ambulances also and things like that. And then even further, if you think about smart cities, in a smart city, you want to optimize the traffic flow, for example, and make sure that the red-green phases are optimized so you don't have traffic jams, or that parking meters automatically charge your car and give you a ticket maybe if you overstay when you're there, or that you negotiate right-of-ways on an intersection. Maybe you don't need stop signs anymore. You just negotiate. The cars negotiate themselves, and who goes first. And for that, you need sensors and blockchain and DePIN and of course location certainty.
Yeah, it's incredible to see all of these factors and how that's going to play into autonomous cars, and I feel like it's going to come soon. As you said, 2028 from the World Economic Forum numbers, in like 3 years or less, it's going to be trillions and trillions of dollars in market cap from just billions. So I feel like there's going to be something like autonomous cars, or I know person robots, and think that's going to come eventually as well. But like getting all these different devices on chain, I feel like it starts with the edge devices, with the mobile phones connecting up. Everybody has at least one phone, probably a few laying around, and those could be used to monetize. If they're just sitting there, we probably use it more than 3% of the time, than we do cars. But there's a lot of devices sitting around while we're sleeping that could be earning.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and our users use our app more than 3 hours a day in the foreground. That's more than all social media apps getting combined usage, and that's the average. And there's people who go to 7-8 hours. It's absolutely crazy, and I think that's what's happening there, right? That you don't use your phone that much, and so you use it to earn. We have big groups of drivers, like truck drivers and Uber drivers and so on, which use the coin app on the phone to earn something on the side and be part of this ecosystem and the community. And it's great, because you drive around anyway and you have your phone anyway, why not earn some money on the side and maybe you learn something as well. Yeah. And I had this amazing experience. I was in Australia, I was talking at a conference there. And after I was talking, someone came to me and thanked me and invited me to lunch. And he told me he is a retired truck driver, and he retired because of Coin. He became part of our community in 2019 and sold some XYO at the right time, and was able to have even $400,000, which he invested into a friend's business. And it was insane, and this was just an elderly truck driver, and truck drivers don't earn that much money, and so they don't have often not a good retirement, and it was really, really amazing to hear that. And it reminded me, we did a case study in 2021, and we did one last year where we checked that how well did our top 500 users, for example, do. And I forgot the exact number. I think it was our top 500 users did $13 million together, and they were just lucky because they cashed out at the right time. And our token, as most of crypto, goes like this, And generally, it's an up trajectory, but it's a crazy swing up trajectory. And so, like in December, we had a $500 million market cap, and today it's around 200 something. And so when you're lucky and you cash out at the right time, that can be transformational. And we have this one person, he was able to pay off his mortgage, for example, and someone else went on a 20-year delayed honeymoon, and then someone else finally bought a car after whatever long time. And these are just great stories. And I think as that is going to happen to more people, and more people talk about it, maybe the conversation is going to shift from like, oh, I got so much money out of memes, and I was lucky in memes, is people will say, oh, I actually earned something, I contributed to society, and I earned money, and it actually changed my life.
Those are really nice stories to hear. These people, they probably don't know a lot about trading and crypto, but they know about contributing and earning from their phone while they're doing work that they were already doing if you're
Right.
driving a truck around. So that's great. I'm going to make sure that we leave some information about the Coin app also in the show notes, because I feel like a lot of people want to check this out and test it out and get involved. So I'm going to make sure we do that. I have a question about the blockchain side of this. With so many different nodes and all these different transactions happening, say you're gathering location data, does all that go on chain? And speaking of like a blockchains like the Ethereum chain, there's cost to that. How does it work with XYO's DPIN network and ensuring that the transactions are on chain and that it's fast and cheap?
Yeah. But to speak about it, it's a huge problem for crypto. I think data, so we are a data project, right? And data, there's no real data layer one. If you think about Ethereum, if you want to save even an image there, it's going to cost you tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even on Solana, it's extremely expensive in the thousands of dollars. And so it's forbidding to do a lot of data. Most layer ones, layer twos are made for transactions and transactions alone. And we, for the last 7 years, we wrote our data onto certain databases like IPFS, for example, and then we wrote some data, subsets of that data onto Solana or Ethereum or other chains. And the way it works for us, we have like a tangle of data, for example. So and that tangle basically we save, and then we write something onto Solana, for example. And the problem is it's just not made for data, so it's very difficult. And so for the last 7 years, we avoided it, but we decided to launch our own layer one blockchain, which is called XYO Layer One, which is going to be a very data-centric layer one. So it's about data storage, but also the certainty of data and provenance, and that you can also do data analysis and a lot of other things which you can't do on other layer ones and layer twos. And also the XYO Layer 1 is going to be the origin or place of truth for all of our data. So the data is going to be saved there first, and then it's going to be put maybe on Solana and then other chains. And this way, we think we're going to show something really amazing. We have so much data and so many nodes. So once we launch, people will be easily seeing what we are doing, and I think a lot of data-rich projects will come and join the XYO ecosystem, be it in DPIN or GameFi or RWA and AI and other data heavy things. And we're very excited about it. It's the launch is imminent. We're in testnet right now, and the mainnet is probably going to launch in Q3. And with it, we're also going to launch a new token called XL1. And that XL1 token is basically the internal gas token to the layer one. So it's for transactions and gas and other internal things. And then we have the XYO token, which is for DePIN rewards, the DePIN ecosystem, and for staking and governance. And we think a lot of the XYO is going to be locked up soon to be staked in the XYO layer one to earn XL1. And it's going to be an exciting time. And then XL1, a lot of that is going to be burned through the transactions in the layer one. And so we have an exciting time coming, I think, for both of those tokens and in general with the launch of the layer one.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting, Markus. It's a 7-year problem that the team is finally solving, and it only makes sense, especially if we're heading on this trajectory that the World Economic Forum is saying exponential growth, you don't want to run into an issue where there's 100 million nodes and then it's slowing down the network. So from the perspective of the users of the Coin app and other nodes and edge devices that people are tying into the DPIN network, how does the launch of the XL1, how does that change from their perspective? So do they actually earn more, or now they're actually able to stake the XYO onto the layer 1 while they're earning?
Hmm. Yeah, it's two things. So the XYO they earn, they will be able to stake in the XYO network into the producer and the validator nodes. And also there's something like a community pool. So there's three ways to stake the XYO, and that will give you the XL1 tokens. And for the earning, we think there will be a lot more demand partners coming onto our networks. Right now, we have dozens of partners already, and as you know, we make more revenues on Filecoin, and they can prove it because we file with the SEC since a while, and have audited financials and so on. And so we think many more partners are going to come, and with more partners, there's going to be more earning potential on the DPIN nodes. And the DPIN nodes are, the phone and devices like this NFC card here, for example.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's more ways to earn for XYO and XL1, and the XYO will be locked up, or a lot of it will be locked up to earn XL1.
Very exciting. And with the expansion to the layer 1, you're talking about different applications could come online as more revenue generating opportunities available to collect new type of information tied into the DPIN networks. So how easy is it for developers and people that want to make apps to build it on top of XYO?
Yeah, so for the XYO layer 1, it's going to be extremely easy. Our team wants to make sure that Web2 companies as well can join. And so there's JavaScript and API integration, which any developer knows well. And so it will be very, very easy to come and join our network. And then on the data request side, for example, it's very easy as well. We have a system where you can have request certain tasks, and our nodes can collect the data on demand. For example, where you say, I want to know all the ATMs in Manila. Can you guys collect the data for me? And then we just send that task through the network, and our nodes go and collect that data, for example. And that system is in place, and we work with some partners already are using that system, but I think it's going to grow a lot over the next few years.
And you mentioned that the testnet's happening and the layer 1 main launch is imminent. What are the things that people can do to test the testnet, get involved in it, and sort of be there for day 1 when the layer 1 launches?
Yeah. Go onto our website, XYO.network, and there's a link there, big button that you can join our testnet, and we'd love for you to be there and to test. And obviously, we love active community, so there is good things that are going to happen for the people who help us.
It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the explosion in DPIN growth and market cap, and glad to see XYO still growing. We were here at the very beginning on our first interview 7 years ago. Did one 3 or 4 years ago as well. Now it's expanding, and the world is catching up to XYO in DPIN, and 10 million nodes is a great start. I have a feeling like it's going to be 10 to 100x that size, but congratulations on the success so far, Markus. Appreciate your insights into sort of DPIN and these different ways that people can earn from their phone, what's going to happen with other IoT, smart devices, autonomous vehicles, and everything else as it gets on chain. And I would love to follow up again in the very near future to hear more about the layer 1 when it launches and how else people can contribute.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you, Ashton. Thank you. It was great.